Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wanderlust Tales. I'm Sarah, your host.
And I'm Daniel. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we're talking about a country that's as diverse as it is fascinating, India.
That's right. India is a land of contrasts, modern cities and ancient temples, bustling bazaars and serene landscapes. There's so much to explore and experience.
Absolutely. Whether it's the spicy street food, the colorful festivals, or the breathtaking natural beauty, India has something for everyone. Sarah, tell us about your first trip to India. What was it like?
Oh, my first trip was unforgettable. I started in Delhi, the capital city. It was overwhelming at first, the crowds, the sounds, the smells. But once I got used to the chaos, I found it exhilarating.
Delhi can be intense. What did you do there?
I visited the Qutub Minar, Humayun's tomb, and the Lotus Temple. I also spent time in Old Delhi, exploring Chandni Chowk. The narrow streets, the spices, and the energy were unlike anything I'd ever experienced.
That sounds amazing. Did you try the street food?
Of course, I had chaat, parathas, and jalebis. Each bite was bursting with flavor. What about you, Daniel? Have you been to India?
Yes, and it was life-changing. My journey started in Rajasthan. I visited Jaipur, the Pink City, and stayed in a haveli, a traditional mansion turned into a hotel.
That must have been incredible. What stood out to you in Rajasthan?
The architecture was stunning. The Amer Fort, Hawa Mahal, and Jantar Mantar were highlights. And the culture, people were so welcoming. They invited me to a local festival, where I got to try traditional Rajasthani dishes like dal bati churma.
That sounds delicious. India's festivals are such a big part of its charm.
Definitely. Speaking of festivals, I was lucky enough to be in India during Holi, the Festival of Colors. It was so much fun, throwing colored powders, dancing, and celebrating with people.
Oh, Holi is amazing. I experienced Diwali, the Festival of Lights, during my second trip to India. The entire country was lit up with diyas and fireworks. It was magical.
India's festivals are truly unique. But what about nature? Did you explore any of India's natural wonders?
Yes, I went to Kerala, known as God's own country. The backwaters were so peaceful. I stayed on a houseboat, surrounded by lush greenery and serene waters.
Kerala is on my list. I visited Ladakh in the north, a stark contrast to Kerala. The landscapes were barren yet beautiful, with snow-capped mountains and clear blue skies.
That must have been breathtaking. Did you visit any monasteries in Ladakh?
I did. The Thiksi Monastery was a highlight. It was so tranquil, and the views were spectacular.
India truly has everything: beaches, mountains, deserts, forests. Did you travel by train while you were there?
Yes, I did. Train journeys in India are an adventure in themselves. I took the Palace on Wheels, a luxury train through Rajasthan. It was like stepping back in time.
I took a local train from Mumbai to Goa. It was less luxurious, but equally memorable. The scenery was beautiful, and I got to chat with locals, which made the journey special.
That's the thing about India. The people make it so welcoming.
Absolutely. One of my favorite moments was being invited to a wedding in Punjab. The energy, the music, the food, it was a feast for the senses.
Indian weddings are something else. I attended one in Kolkata. It was like stepping into a Bollywood movie, with colorful outfits, elaborate decorations, and endless dancing.
India's cultural richness is unparalleled. Do you have a favorite place in India, Daniel?
That's a tough one. But if I had to choose, I'd say Varanasi. Watching the Ganga Aarti on the banks of the Ganges River was a spiritual experience I'll never forget.
I completely agree. Varanasi is one of a kind. For me, it's the Taj Mahal in Agra. Seeing it at sunrise was like a dream come true.
The Taj Mahal is iconic for a reason. It's a symbol of love and an architectural masterpiece.
Absolutely. Before we wrap up, let's share some tips for anyone planning a trip to India.
Good idea. My first tip is to embrace the chaos. India can be overwhelming, but that's part of its charm.
So true. My tip is to pack light, but be prepared for different climates. India's weather varies a lot depending on where you are.
Great point. Also, don't hesitate to try the local food. Just make sure it's from a clean place.
And finally, be open-minded. India is full of surprises, and every experience is a story waiting to be told.
Perfectly said, Sarah. That's all for today's episode of Wanderlust Tales. If you've traveled to India, we'd love to hear your stories. Send them to us at.
Thanks for joining us. Remember, every journey is an adventure, and India is a destination that stays with you forever.
See you next time on Wanderlust Tales.